3 years I was in, 45 and 46. 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, three years. Well, I'm lucky I'm here alive today from over there. Yeah. I'm lucky I'm here alive today from over there. Come on. They come down with a parachute one night, and landed there right in front of us here. And the morning they landed, he had a little machine gun, and he bang, 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 bang. And finally we got him with a hand grenade. We threw a hand grenade out there, and he got him. Oh yeah, that's some close shaves over there.
You drove truck over there?
Truck, equipment operator.
Well, I was in the Navy. I went down, she just asked me the other day, I went down Easton when Reverend Schaefer from our church was in on the board. And I went down and signed up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, volunteer, whatever you want to call it. I did that. Although her brother had already done it too.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Navy also. Well, I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was in the Navy, but I was hooked up with I was in with the Air Force thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had F-6F airplanes
mm-hmm.
for the Navy on the carriers, you know. And I was there also when they drove the F-7F.
Mm-hmm.
We all had to sign up, and we were in line. And I had a friend of mine, a fellow by the name of Butler from Alabama. He was in front of me that morning, and they needed submarine duty people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to go in the submarine. And anyway, the guy said, stop right in front of me. It took my friend Butler
mm-hmm.
and left me there.
I was in the Signal Corps of the Army Department, and I was in basic training in Camp Gordon, Georgia. And of course, at the end of my basic training, I was injured. And I spent the rest of my time in the hospital, and when I got out of there, the captain of the group felt that I should be discharged because they didn't want me on the front lines. That was the end of my story. To recognize the others that were really injured and also killed during the service. You know, the words of battle, which I didn't face, which I was very fortunate that I didn't.
I served in the United States Marine Corps. I took my basic training in South Carolina. I went for advanced training in North Carolina. Then I went to aviation school in Jacksonville, Florida for 6 weeks. I graduated from there. Went to aviation school in Memphis, Tennessee for 12 weeks. I graduated from there. And then I went to my home base, Santa Ana, California. That's where I was stationed for over a year until I got out. Well, one thing is when I was stationed in Santa Ana, we went on maneuvers for 2 weeks on the aircraft carrier, the Boxer. And that was memorable there. And also, we went with the helicopters, and we had to jump into the Pacific Ocean. And then they picked us up with the hoist that's attached to the outside of the helicopter. I'm proud to serve my country, and I understand what being patriotic means. Mm-hmm. I understand the flag. Mm-hmm.
I got drafted in the Army in 1963. I went to Fort Jackson for basic training and went right to Fort Benning to MP school. I went right on the job training, never left Fort Benning for 2 years. We loaded the trains to go to Savannah. I was pre-Vietnam War. It started in July of 1964. We started loading the trains, and I didn't get to go to Vietnam because I only had 90 days left in 1965. In August, when I really started loading the helicopters and the troops and the tanks to go to Savannah to be shipped to Vietnam. I got out in 1965, October. Never left Fort Benning. Being drafted at 23 years old, and I wasn't married. I was really set in my ways, and it really matured me. I should have gone in at 17 or 18. My mother still ironed my underwear and the sheets on the table, on the bed rather, and I really grew up fast. The other thing that I can remember the most is I was never south of Philadelphia, and I was there during the racial riots in Birmingham and Selma, Alabama. A lot of our troops went down there to try to settle the unrest. I unfortunately went to Fort Bragg as an MP to take over the MP duties of the 82nd Airborne. They went out because we had a black commander, company commander, who could not go to racial riots, obviously. So our MP unit went to Fort Bragg, and Fort Bragg 82nd Airborne went to Selma and Montgomery. Military service really matured me. When I came home, I had no trouble making decisions. I wasn't happy at my job, so we wound up going in business, buying a business and going in business. Before I went into service, I had money in my pocket. I was single, carefree, living at home. It really matured me in the service. I was in from 23 to 25, which is an older age to really be in the service. Mm-hmm.
I was in the U.S. Navy. I was commissioned at Iowa State as an ensign. Got stationed on board an oil tanker out of Newport, Rhode Island. Spent all of my time going around the Mediterranean and North Atlantic. I was above the Arctic Circle as a Blue Nose, and was on board the USS Caloosahatchee, AO-98. All of the Navy tankers are named after Indian rivers. So the Caloosahatchee River happens to end up in Fort Myers, Florida. Bob Trimble actually has a house on it. Memorable things I remember from the Caloos was I had the deck, and we were coming into Suda Bay Creek. We had the pilot on board. We were trying to come up to the pier, and he didn't know anything about our ship. We were going way too fast, and we're coming in at about a 30-degree angle, and we were going to ram the pier. So I looked at the captain. He kept looking back at me, and I just said, "Drop the hook," all back full, and we just slid right into the pier. Mm-hmm. Just as nice as if we had planned it. Nice. What I learned mostly from the military was how to handle myself around all different kinds of people. It served me well in teaching. I had the first assignment in teaching. I had the worst kids in every school were all lumped together in a certain place, and we had to sort of straighten them out. And I developed a pretty good repertoire with those guys, and I think I straightened out a bunch of kids pretty well. Usually when we go to the State Theater, the performer will ask the veterans to stand, and there aren't too many people that stand up. So I feel kind of lucky to be one of the few that actually has contributed to keeping our freedoms intact. Makes me proud to feel like there aren't that many of us, and we certainly have been more appreciated in later years than we had right around the time of Vietnam, which was when I was in. 72 to 75. So I really feel grateful that I had the experience. It taught me a lot, made me grow up really fast. And when I think of the responsibilities I had at the age of 22 and 23, it's kind of scary. I don't know whether I'd want those responsibilities now.
I enlisted in the United States Army on the 23rd of December 1980 and left the service in 2000 after 20 years. When I first joined, I was recruited to be a Russian linguist and work in the military intelligence field. After the Cold War ended, there was no longer the need to have Russian translators in the military. And so I was offered the opportunity to go back to college on an ROTC scholarship. So I came back to New Jersey and went to Seton Hall University. Finally, I spent the last 11 years on active duty supporting Army National Guard officer training and recruiting programs. I was one of a select few of non-commissioned officers who developed marketing and recruiting programs. I'm really proud to say that I am a veteran of the United States military, but I'm even more proud to say that I can stand with men and women who have made sacrifices and their family members and loved ones who have also made those same sacrifices, if not more, to support the freedoms that we enjoy in our country.
I was in the Air Force from 2008 to 2012. I went through all my basic training in my fire school in Texas. Then I was stationed in Langley, Virginia, and I did a tour in Iraq. One of my most memorable experiences was when we were landing the aircraft at night into Iraq, my first night there. They gave us a quick briefing on the aircraft before we got off about keeping your head down and just getting ready that you're in a combat zone. Well, as soon as we leave the aircraft and we're all lined up and walking across the airstrip, mortars start coming in from over the fence, and a lot of us, that was our first time being in a combat zone or being in another country, so we all had to run to a bunker, and you get close to everybody real quick that way. So that was a bad but also a good experience. My time in the military definitely helped me mature and become my own person. Before I joined, I was very much a kid. I was immature. I was irresponsible with finances and just some personal decisions. And when you're in the military, a lot of the decisions are either made for you or they kind of show you the right answer. And that alone, and just the people that you meet from all different parts of the country, and just the brotherhood and the camaraderie from those guys, and they all help each other. It's just such teamwork, and you know that all those people have your back, and they all help you if you get down or if you have a hard time, and it helps you see the good in everyone, because there really is. There's good in every single person, but sometimes it's hard to see it. But when you're in tough situations and you're in a really hazardous environment, the best in everyone comes out, and you all work together and make things happen. Being a veteran to me is it's definitely a brotherhood, a sisterhood. It's a relationship. You can be anywhere in the country and you just run into someone that is a veteran or has been in the military, and you can strike up a conversation because you have that in common. And you might not know them, they don't know you, but you both serve for the country, and you have that in common, so it's easy to develop a relationship.
Right.
It's a great feeling.